a playlist original.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson, taking you back to the class of 1998. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. How you doing? It's a special episode we got underway today with a very special guest. I'm excited to get into this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So whenever there is a movie from this time period, I always think to ask this person to be on, and most of the time he is able to do it. I've said this before from people that listen. He is probably one of our favorite guests because he has a lot to say and he's funny and he knows what he's talking about. That's our boy, Mark J. Parker from the Release Date Rewind podcast. Welcome.
Hey guys.
Welcome back,
my
Mark.
gosh.
It's great to see you again.
It's great to see you guys. Thank you for having me back. I love this movie, even if it isn't perfect. We're going to talk about it. But yes, I always have a lot to say, probably too much to say. I feel like a common theme in my life is people giving me that look that's like, okay, I'm starting to fade. Can you get to your point? So I'll try to not go on and on and on. But hi, thanks for having me. I'm trying to remember, when was the last time I was on? I think we talked about Scream
6.
So what have been
Right?
like March,
Yeah,
maybe
Scream
early
6
April?
in March. Yeah.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
so you've been on twice this year so far. And you'll probably be on more because there's some other late '90s anniversaries coming up.
Some really big,
like,
important ones in our
some
lives,
really
right?
good, some really good ones. But this one was a big one, and another one that I kind of was like, Jackson, I want to do this one, and you've probably never seen it, so
No, I don't recall ever even hearing about it. Maybe
Oh
in
my
passing.
God,
Yeah.
Jackson, what?
This one was under my radar, but I'm fresh off the watch, and I'm happy to say it was a great first time watch. I had a lot of fun.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
gosh,
so this is
Jackson,
I'm like a
first time
fresh, I'm a
watch.
newbie. Yes, yeah, I know.
Oh my
There's
gosh, a
lots
newbie,
of
our
these
baby.
anniversaries.
Well, Jackson, wait, tell me if you're comfortable saying on air.
Absolutely.
How old are you?
I am 25. As of filming, I'm
Oh my
25 in 3 days. So I'm
Oh
24. So this
oh
movie's
my
right
God.
before me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, you
Yeah.
weren't even alive.
And then
That's
Wow.
right.
he
No.
wasn't
Oh my
even
God.
alive.
Oh
He
my
was
God.
in his
Birthday's this
mother's
Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, I was clawing out right around this time. This movie dropped. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. As Jennifer Love Hewiit and The Wind Machine is going strong,
Oh,
then all of a
man.
sudden you're coming out of the womb. Oh my gosh. Well, what a great like birthday movie for you. Happy early
Absolutely.
birthday.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the note of
Um,
Jennifer Love Hewitt, she's the I'm just realizing the crush I never knew I had. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
she
She,
was-
Okay.
she was
Yeah.
a treat. She was awesome in this movie.
Right, she was such a right, Gaius, like because you're older than 25. You're more
Yeah,
like
I'm
my-
older.
yeah.
I'm older than 25.
Yeah, but like, yeah, this was like the time for Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
she was everywhere at every like award show, every music video, right? Like,
Yeah,
so, oh
she
my
was
gosh, I
big.
love that. Now you're feeling the crush.
I'm gonna ask
I
my
love it.
mom about her when I see her on probably Saturday or
Nice.
Sunday and say, so what was Jennifer Love Hewitt all about?
Jennifer
in the
Love Hewitt,
90s?"
like,
I love asking her these questions about pop culture back before I was around,
my
just to see
gosh,
her
wow.
take. So that's definitely
Yeah.
bookmarked. But yeah,
that's
love
funny.
it. Yeah.
But so I mean, you'll know what episode this is because you'll see the title of it, and we're gonna talk about the movie. We haven't named the movie, but there's a lot of hints with Jennifer Love Hewitt and 1998. But the movie is Can't Hardly Wait. It turned 25 on June 12th. Was that yesterday or the day before yesterday?
Yeah.
And it was one of those on the list. I was like, I have to get to it. It's funny because
never been disappointed yet.
Now, yeah, it was funny because we did Jurassic Park on Monday, and then we're doing this today, which is a very different anniversary entirely.
So
but
different.
Which what
And
makes
that's
this
funny
stuff so
because
fun.
I'll have a Jurassic Park episode this week as well, so we'll have to compare notes. But
Yeah.
I'm so
Definitely
glad
gonna
you're
listen to
doing this one because it was on my list, but I didn't have room for it. And so when you said, "What about Can't Hardly Wait?" I was like, "Oh yes," because there's no way I can fit that on my show. So there you go.
Oh, that works for
Perfect.
everybody then. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But before we start, for those who haven't listened before, Mark, tell them a little bit about your podcast and if there's any episodes out now that they should be excited about, any that you have coming down pipeline.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so it's Release Date Rewind. I've been doing it. I had a previous show called Add This to Your List, which was more like what you guys kind of do, not the retro stuff, more current stuff. But
I love
that
that
came
name.
to an end. Yeah, thank you. Add this to your list because I feel like that's what we're telling each other all the time now, right? With all this content, we're like, yeah, add that to your
Totally.
list, right?
Yeah.
But so I did that, but then I went solo and did Release Date Rewind because I, much like you guys, have for years and years loved watching movies, around the time that they have a big anniversary, right? It was always on my radar. So I thought I need to turn this into a show. So I talk about old movies for their special anniversaries. I start at the 20th anniversary. So anything that's 15, 10, it's too young for me. We got to let some more time breathe, right? But yeah, so let's see. For May, I had some guilty pleasures that were smaller, modest films, but near and dear to my heart. Super Mario Brothers from 1993, such a bizarre movie, right? The live action,
crazy. Yeah, it's
so
really bizarre.
so crazy. And then we talked about Wrong Turn from 2003.
Oh yes, so did we. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys
Yeah,
did.
we
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, that is such a fun guilty pleasure. I mean, that movie honestly is not that bad. I actually think it holds up really well.
As I was
like
saying
it a
in our
lot.
episode, I had no complaints about the movie. I thoroughly
Right?
enjoyed Wrong
Yeah,
Turn.
it
It's
was
so much
fun.
better than it deserves to
Nice,
be. Yeah.
speedy little thrill ride. It's gross. It's actually scary at times. So I
Yeah.
mean, we talked about
Great character
that. But then
decisions.
June, I'll be talking about Jurassic Park. We're going to talk about big, like momentous stuff. So Jurassic Park, and then my other episode in June will not be a film. I'm going to go back to TV, and I'm going to talk about Sex and the City for its 25th anniversary.
That's a pretty good one.
Yes.
I mean,
That's
obviously,
funny.
that show's so huge.
That's
right?
a huge one. It's funny because we're gonna do it won't be our first one because we did one for Buffy the Vampire Slayer before Jackson was on the
Right.
show.
Yeah.
But our second TV one we're gonna do the OC in August because that'll be 20 years
Yeah,
old.
that's turning 20. Oh my
yeah.
God. I remember
Yeah.
that premiere episode so well. I was like trying to be a cool high schooler, and we were like smoking cigs at my friend's house. Oh my God. So gross. So lame. But yeah, that's a good one for sure. Yeah, I wish I talked about Buffy on my show, but that was before I was like thinking about TV, because as you guys know, like talking about a TV show is like a whole other beast, right?
It's harder. It's a lot harder because like even when telling Jackson, I was like, okay, I want to do the OC. I don't expect you to watch 20 plus episodes of season one. You just have to watch the pilot, right? But
Big
it is
time.
hard to talk about the overall like
Yeah.
arc of a show that's been on in that case for 4 seasons. That's not even that long, but like it is
Right.
long in terms of like
Especially
so much
those episode
happens.
lengths, yeah.
Yeah, so much happens. But yeah, it's when it comes to a show like that, I was like, Jackson, just watch the pilot. We'll fill you in on like everything else.
Yeah.
And then,
Oh, I'm gonna do
Pilot
some research for sure.
And
I
some
gotta do that
clips,
first by
right?
that
Some like,
episode. I gotta-
especially like season 1 clips, because that show,
Yeah.
much like many Fox shows, I think, really good in that first season, and then like they almost burn through them too fast, right? Then they
Yeah.
like start to by the end of season 2, you're like, I don't even know what's going on. I'm so checked out. I don't know what it is
Tapped
for me,
out.
but most Fox shows are like that. So season 1's really probably the most
Yeah,
important.
this is reminding
Yeah.
me of Riverdale.
Oh my God, I
vibes,
loved
yeah.
Riverdale, and then I just kind of
I tapped out too.
I tapped out, right? But although the
Yeah.
final season, I think it's still airing right now, and it
I
did
think
look kind of
so.
interesting because they go back
That's
in
one thing
time.
it
I
has
don't know
going
how,
for
but,
it. It's very interesting. Each season adds something new, but
great cast. I remember years ago when I
fantastic
was
cast.
casting at ABC, I brought in Camila Mendez for an audition
nice.
before she booked that, and
Oh,
she
wow.
we loved her, but we already had a girl in a role that looked so much like her, so we're like, okay, well, we'll save her for later. And then when I reached out to her agent, she was like, oh, she's working on the
She's like-
CW
she's
show.
on
And I was like,
Riverdale
oh,
now.
dang.
Now look
So,
at her. Oh my
yeah,
goodness, that
she's
is cool.
great. Yeah. mhm.
I'm gonna briefly say this. When I went to when I worked Comic-Con one year during their first season, they went, and it was so easy to get access to them because like it was like I think a mid-season show at that point. It wasn't like huge yet, and it hadn't gone to Netflix yet, where it became like even more huge while it was airing on the CW.
Right.
So we actually went to a party with all of them, and they were really cool. So I thought we would have that access again the next year. Season
Forget
2,
it.
it was hard pass, bro. Like, who are you? Like, oh fuck, yeah, they were
Oh
way
my
too big
gosh.
by
And
the
I mean,
second season.
I'll just tell you guys right now, KJ Appa, wow, what just
He's Australian, isn't
wow.
he?
Yes, he
is
is. and
Australian, yeah.
Oh my God, honey. Yes. So I'll just leave it there. But yeah, great.
He's a
cast.
hunk for sure.
Oh my God. Yes.
That's hilarious. Before we get into the movie, I just want to mention a podcast that gave us a shout out on their show, and they're going to give us another one again because they were actually really excited that we covered Jurassic Park. They were like, I thought
Okay.
I mean, of course, other shows probably covered it, but
Right.
they were just happy that we did, and they
Oh, nice.
listened and they really liked the
Happy to
episode.
deliver.
So the Films and Fermentation podcast with their hosts Kevin, Mike, and Leo, they talk about their favorite films in conjunction with their favorite libations. So they mix alcohol with movies, and it's a really interesting show. If you ever want to listen to it, it's really fun. And
Nice.
Yeah, I was listening to it when I started getting on like good pods and discovering other indie podcasts, and they're really fun group, and they gave us a big shout out before our 100th episode, so want to pay it forward and give
That's
them one
right.
as
Happy
well.
100. I know I sent in my recording,
Thank
but I
you.
haven't told you guys. Yeah, that's a big milestone. And you guys got there pretty dang quickly. Because Gaius, how old is your show? It's like a year and a half or older?
Like almost a year. Like it'll be 2 years
right
in
around-
November. Yeah,
Jeez,
November,
guys, you
November
can like
10th.
relax a little bit. Oh my god!
I know. Wow. I like in your
We're not
message,
stopping either.
Well, in your message, you were like, "Yeah, you'll get to 200 before you know it, because you guys just crank these things out."
Oh my god!
Yes,
you guys
your message is very
busy.
heartfelt, Mark. Thank you. I remember.
Yeah, it was.
Gaius mentioned it. It was awesome.
Oh, absolutely, big milestone. So good for you guys.
Well, I'm glad that we can celebrate this particular movie here.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that we could do it with us two, Mark, who it was probably a part of growing up, and then someone like Jackson, who for the first time watching it was today.
Different perspective, yeah.
Very different perspective. I mean, it's going to be when you grew up with it, and as far as discovering it later. But for those that don't know anything about it, Can't Hardly Wait was released on June 12th, 1998. It's a teen romantic comedy written and directed by Deborah Kaplan and Harry Elfont, and it stars Ethan Embry, Charlie Korsmo, Laura Ambrose, Peter Facinelli, Seth Green, and Jennifer Love Hewitt. There are a ton of other people in this movie.
Oh my gosh,
I
wrote notes.
And I will mention them, but that's your main group right there. And this is essentially all these kind of interconnecting stories at this last big party before they all go off after graduation, go off to college, and the main thing being this unrequited love between Amanda Beckett and our boy Preston. Preston has has been fawning over her since freshman year, has not really talked to her at all 4 years of high school, judging from the film. But he finds out that Mike Dexter, played by Peter Facinelli, has broken up with Amanda ahead of this party and leaving for college. And this is his moment to shine with her. So like we always do at these anniversaries, we already know when Jackson first discovered it. It was today.
That's right.
But Mark, when was your first exposure to Can't
Oh,
Hardly Wait?
I am so happy to answer that question. So I saw this in theaters. Okay, 98. I'm pretty sure. I think it was. Wow, was I? All right, I think I was at the very end of 5th grade, which is pretty young. I mean, not that this movie is that vulgar or anything, but kids are smarter than we all think, right?
Yeah.
So it was end of 5th grade, and I know I at least went with my friend Lindsay Ferg, maybe others, but I actually saw this on the last day of school, like right after school. We were able to get dropped off, so it was like extra exciting to see this kind of movie, So I guess I didn't go like opening weekend. I must have gone like a week or two later, because in South Jersey we went until like June 20th, so it must have been like a week later. But yeah, I remember going right after school, seeing in the theater, and just having such a fun time. I knew a good amount of these actors, and we'll go down that long list. It was fun to see as a kid some faces I knew, but oh my god, now as an adult, it's so funny how like there are so many people in this movie. Blink and you miss them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was me. I got to see this in theaters. How about you, Gaius? Did you see it in theaters?
I did see it in theaters, and it's interesting because this came out in the summer of '98, so this was after 8th grade. So that fall, I'm going into freshman year of high school.
That's a good time to watch that.
Prepping
for what's to come.
Yeah, and it was that, and it was also an interesting thing when I'm rewatching it now and thinking back to when I watched it in theaters. It was one of that last summer that I kind of spent with a lot of friends I went to middle school with. And then that kind of transition of like going to high school with totally different people and meeting new people. So that summer was kind of like the last summer I spent with a lot of people I went to middle school with, and we saw that movie together. I do remember that it wasn't a crowded theater, so this movie didn't really do all that well when it came out.
Yeah, I remember the same thing, Gaius. The theater was not that crowded. I think I did like go honestly like at 4:00. So but like
it was definitely. It wasn't in terms of like budget and what it made. It didn't particularly bomb, but compared to the teen movies that came shortly after it, they made a lot more money than this. But we all really loved it when we saw it, and then throughout those 4 years of high school, like we watched it a lot. But I remember senior year of high school, we wore this movie out because it felt like we were living that a little bit.
Totally.
And that year we did watch the movie a lot, and I will say I think I go back and forth about whether or not this is my favorite teen comedy of that era, but it's certainly the one that me and my friends, even now who hang out today together, quote the most. Like we can quote "Can't Hardly Wait" like easily. Like there's a scene toward the end of the movie with like Mike and Amanda that me and my friend Erica like in word for word, like in a crowded bar, just do it, and then people around us be like, "Are they quoting "Can't Hardly Wait"?" And then they think it's fun. So it's like really.
That is so perfect. Cool. I used to work with someone named Amanda, and we sat next to each other, and every once in a blue moon, I would say like Amanda. But she was younger than me, so she would think it was like offensive, and I'm like, no, I say that lovingly. Like, yeah, it's funny because it's not like I haven't seen this movie in full in quite a while, but wow, I guess it just really left an impression on me. A lot of the dialogue. So good, so funny, so fast. I mean, you really have to kind of be paying attention, right? But I can quote it too for a movie that it's not like I've seen this like 100 times, but it just sticks with you, you know?
It also helps that like one of my good buddies now, his name is Preston. So whenever he walks in the room, we're just like Preston, like he gets it right away. And he's
I've
like,
heard you mention him before. That's funny.
all the time. So like it's very much a part of my DNA in a really big way. But like I said, I'm maybe by the end of this episode I can place it somewhere in like whatever the list is in the grand pantheon of teen movies. But
do you think, Gaius, is it better than American Pie for you?
I do enjoy it. I actually do. Well, I haven't watched American Pie in a while. I'm just saying this now. I might change my mind later, but I think so. I think it hits a little bit more of a special place for me than American Pie does. I think American Pie is hilarious, and of course, but like, I think I like this. I think I enjoy the characters a bit more in this.
I actually agree with you. I know American Pie is iconic, and I haven't seen it in a long time. And I know 1999 was like the year of like so many amazing movies, right? But there's something. Even though this movie might not be all that great, I was looking and I saw like Roger Ebert gave it like a
star and a half.
I'm surprised he saw it, to tell you the truth. But I love it. Right?
I read his review and like respect. I mean, because he was a very good film reviewer. But I'm reading the review and he just sounded like a old begrudging. Like he just like I was like, well, it wasn't made for you, I guess. All right,
he probably was at that point, right?
He just was not the target, but I was the target, and I do agree with you. American Pie's fun, but there's something about this group of people and this energy that is like I just so badly wanted to be there. Like this movie, much like Booksmart and I would say Superbad.
I was really to say that. I was waiting to bring up Superbad. I'm glad.
I feel like those three really, do a good job of showing us like the party, like the last night, or like tonight is the night for whatever reason, right? It really makes you, root for everybody, and it's funny, and you care about them. So
Superbad has so much DNA from this movie. Just being fresh off the watch. I mean, Superbad. Like hearing you guys talk about it, what I was gonna say is like it sounds like Can't Hardly Wait was like your guys' Superbad to like my because Superbad came out and I was like 10. It was one that we all watched throughout middle school and high school, wore out, kind of like Gaius you had mentioned, and seeing it now, it's like it totally gets from Can't Hardly Wait, borrows a lot, so that's awesome.
And I'm sure Can't Hardly Wait, we know, totally borrows from 80s movies. I know
it's like the John Hughes
Hughes vibe. Yep, 16 Candles and all that. Totally, right? So it's all part of that great DNA, but
so like your first time watch, Jackson, what was it like?
It was great to like, I feel this movie really captured that zeitgeist of like I feel like it was like a mid-90s movie, which I'm kind of, I guess it was filmed probably in 97 if I were to guess. I always find it fascinating to watch movies from that era of that era. It's just super cool. Like, cause to me, I'm thinking this is what like my parents and my parents' friends and stuff were like living through at this time, which is like super rad.
Yeah.
I had a good time with it. I thought it was really comical, like a great blend of like teen comedy and not too much drama. I'm not sure what other genre.
Like, light drama, I guess.
Light drama for sure. And it wasn't like over the top funny. It was a lot of just situational stuff.
Right.
Thought it was like, I really enjoyed it. Great. I'm sure I don't have like the nostalgia towards it, obviously, that you guys would have. So like I can't relate to you there, but like a really fun 90s rom-com for sure. Yeah. If you could call it that. I don't know. Would you guys consider it a rom-com?
Oh,
For sure.
Yeah. And there's some fun pairings, with Seth Green and Lauren Ambrose, like some
Seth Green had
total like
oh
my god, right? Yes. Like opposites attracting. But yeah, I'm so curious, Jackson. When you were watching it today, did it feel dated? Like, does it feel like a really old movie or not so much? Because for us, it's
Right.
old, but like, you still watch it with like those first time goggles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Goggles,
saying?
like Seth's
Yeah.
goggles in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to consider like 98 old. Like I know I'd have friends, I've mentioned this before to Gaius, that like can't even watch something from the 90s. They consider it too old. I don't look at it that way. It's
Wow.
fine. It's definitely, I think, a product of its time, but I feel like it's just on the cusp of recency. I still find it like very relevant. It's not like so old you can't relate to like what's going on. The only things I think that really would show his age are like in the outfits and maybe some of the dialogue and some of the
The music.
the music. Yeah,
It was great music for sure.
The music
yeah,
is such
soundtrack
a
was awesome though.
it's
Yeah,
so
I owned
awesome.
I
Oh my
owned it
God.
back in the day.
I'm looking into Barry Manilow
Yeah.
right now. Actually, I need to listen to this Mandy song. And then there's a part where Preston's like sitting on the roof of his car right before he makes the phone call, and Foreigners, I've been waiting for a girl like you is playing on the car. I'm like,
Yeah.
I fucking love that song. I listen to that song all the time. This is
Oh
great.
my God.
I
Yeah,
love when there's a good soundtrack.
This movie actually, I didn't even think about this until rewatching it earlier today. It made me like kind of discover Run DMC.
Yeah,
there you
like
go,
that,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I loved that song. I already knew like Eve 6, Third Eye Blind, Smash Mouth is all
Smash
over
Mouth,
this
Smash
soundtrack.
Mouth is
yes,
everywhere.
that dated this movie.
Right,
Before
yes.
Shrek, they were part of Can't
Yes.
Hardly Wait.
Yeah.
Yes. But
I was like-
honestly, rewatching it, I think, and I don't know, call me crazy, but obviously with theater and musicals nowadays, we're seeing a lot of movies turned into musicals, right? I feel like Can't Hardly Wait could be a really fun 90s stage musical with
Kinda
like
like what they
those
did.
songs.
You're right.
They could
Yeah.
add, they could add in some Jewel and even some Spice Girls, whatever. They can get rights to like other songs because some
Yeah.
songs are like, I don't know what that is, but like I think it's called Six Underground. That song when Jennifer Love Hewiit
Yeah.
comes walking in.
By the Sneaker Pimps. Yep.
Yes, can't you just
Look
picture,
at
like
you,
some
Gaius.
girl on
Yeah.
stage like singing that, or
Slick.
maybe she's singing it. Amanda's singing it as she's entering this party. Like, I just think this could be a really fun live play.
That had
live
never
musical.
occurred to me, but you're totally right.
It could be,
Right?
yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
I love a good musical.
So the interesting thing about this movie, the filmmakers, when they were doing it, they were like wanted just to make a fun movie with their friends, and they were like, "Hey, we want to do something we could do in a weekend." And like
Oh,
that was
there
like
you
so
go.
their idea. They said that they were even like more ambitious back when they were trying to make it. They were like, "Oh, we could do like all one shot," and because they were just young
wow.
filmmakers,
Wow.
That's
and they were
cool.
That
like,
would have been cool.
and it was going to be more independent, but then they said Scream came out and was a hit, and then suddenly every studio wanted their like teen movie, so it
Yes.
became easier to make. So this movie actually cost $12 million to make. It doesn't seem, I don't know, I don't
Whoa.
know why it cost so much.
It's a bit high, especially because back then, 25 years ago, 12 million was like substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like these actors weren't like getting huge paychecks back then. I'm just wondering like where
Right.
all the money went. I mean, because Jennifer Love Hewiit is the
Weird.
biggest star at this point
Yeah.
Right.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Like Ethan Embry had been in White Squall and That Thing You Do.
Yep. And
I
Empire
don't know-
Records.
Empire Records. I don't know about Peter Facinelli at that point in his career.
Yeah, I don't know
Okay,
either. And Lauren
Is he the
Ambrose.
dad in Twilight?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yep.
wow.
Wow,
Mhm.
which is so
Wow.
funny. Which is so funny you say that because I was watching like old, like not old, but like fairly recent clips about them talking about this movie, and he said, "Dude, I've done so many things since then. Like Nurse Jackie, he was on that. He's like did all those
Yeah.
Twilight movies, and he said the movie I get asked about the most when people run into me is Can't Hardly Wait. Like still."
I love
to
that.
this
I mean,
day.
he's
That's awesome.
he's pretty
he's-
iconic in that.
And he's
role.
happy. He's happy. Yeah, he's happy for it too. He loves that people
Yeah.
recognize him for it.
Oh, that's
Everyone
great.
involved in the movie has very positive things to say about their experience making it. And then the filmmakers, when the movie came out, of course, it didn't do all that well. So they were like, "Oh, I guess that was a bust." And then they just said they realized in subsequent years that people are like, "No, that's my high school movie. Like
Right.
that's
Oh, I
that's
can
my
imagine.
go-to."
So I guess it
def-
just did really well, like on
Like
on
home
DVD.
video,
Yeah, I
DVD
guess, and like
video,
cable.
yeah.
That would be the spot.
Yeah.
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 I gotta ask
Yeah.
my parents if they know this movie. I gotta bookmark
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
'Cause
I
I
mean,
can't
'cause-
name a single friend that would have heard of this. Unfortunately, it feels like it was a product
Wow.
of its time. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but
Yeah.
I gotta talk to some people. And see
Yeah,
if they know.
I hear you. It's not a super duper popular one. Like we said, American Pie and Superbad, I think get more praise for sure.
Certainly.
But
yeah.
and like Clueless before this was obviously a bigger
Yeah,
deal.
pretty
But
big.
yeah, I guess a lot of people just watched it later. But it's just such a part of my life. So I can't imagine not having Can't Hardly
I know,
Wait.
right?
you
Yeah.
know?
It's
No,
gonna
I
be a
forget-
movie I'd put people on for sure.
Gaius, was Seth Green by this time? Did he join Buffy in season
Yeah,
2?
already season 2. So I mean, he had been acting forever too.
Oh
like, in
yeah,
season
for a long
one.
time. So he
No,
was
I guess you could. I guess you could say he was a big, I mean, not a big star, but he would have been acting as a child star for a bit.
He was
Yeah.
recognizable.
Oh, he was
Yeah.
an. I didn't know he was a child star. Would he have done the Austin Powers by this point? Those are
Yeah, you're right.
nice.
Yeah.
You're
So
right.
he was, so he was a name
That was the
too.
year
And
before.
then the casting director Mary Vernew, she is responsible for getting all these people together. She had she cast Jennifer Love Hewiit. I know you did last summer, the year before, so she already.
Oh, did she work on that?
Yes,
Oh my god!
So she already knew her, and so she was like, okay, well, she's on Party of Five, so she's our big star. Like she's the name, And then they were saying, but like there are other people that came in and read for bigger parts that they didn't get, but they're like, okay, well, you could take these smaller parts who don't have character names, but famously just have, girls whose party it is, or jock number one, jock number three.
I love the party host. She is so
Oh my
funny.
gosh, she's cracking me up. No
love
one
her.
gives a shit about her the entire movie. She's just ranting and raving about her.
I have to
shitty
give it
night.
up. I have to give it up for her because you're so right.
Yes.
No one is even caring about her, and she's got such fun stuff to do. And I know Melissa Joan Hart's a little problematic nowadays. She's like a little crazy, but one of the faces I think of with Can't Hardly Wait is Melissa Joan Hart with her yearbook.
Pushed
out of the way. I mean,
she was very familiar to me. I couldn't quite place her though.
Oh yeah, Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Teenage Witch.
Is she Sabrina?
She's Sabrina.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And that was on at this time. So even though her role was smaller, she was a total
it's
thing.
The voice totally. I was like, I know her. Also, sorry to interrupt. I just had to point out, Gaius, you might have caught me smiling like 30 seconds ago. I just noticed the shirt that you're wearing.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing
for listeners.
Oh, I love it. I didn't even see it.
The whole thing. I can only
is someone's face on it? Who's like lifted up?
Members?
Oh my god,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
cool.
that poster.
I would have pointed that out if I had noticed that. I just caught it.
It's a big hit when we go out to the bars on the pier. Everyone's like, "Oh,
Gaius, do you know what's funny about that is it's kind of so that's the poster of the movie. I remember that well. And then there's the other one where they're kind of more normal and like just smiling. But the font of what's on your shirt, I've noticed that's the same exact font and like stamp looking thing as American Pie.
Yes, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Can't Hardly Wait's trying to like get that American Pie attention.
Or vice
their
versa.
Font was more like almost like handwritten, kind of like Dawson's Creek looking, font. So I thought that was funny. Yeah, merging movies.
Yeah. So I want to ask you guys, getting into some of our characters. So I think in high school, just by default, I was more of a Preston in high school. I wasn't as naive, but I do enjoy him as a character. I have a friend that watches this movie that thinks he's kind of stalkerish. I was like, but in the context of the movie, I think I don't think so. I think it's supposed to be like kind of like romantic or whatever. My friend's like, no, he's never talked to this girl like at all 4 years of school, and now he's gonna do it at this big party, and she's like, she doesn't probably even know who he is, and she didn't know who he was really, like at all. Do you think he comes off that way, or do you think he is a genuinely just nice person that just wants to show this girl that he has these unrequited feelings for her?
I thought he was pretty genuine throughout. That's all he was really seemed to do. That's what every moment that you get him, especially with Denise early in the film, that's clearly what his ambitions are, is to talk to Amanda and let her know how he truly feels. So yeah, I totally got that he was genuinely after her to let her know, and that just pays off so well when she blows up in his face when she kind of misreads what his intentions are, and he doesn't even get a word into. He just lets her talk and doesn't interrupt her,
and it's in front of everyone, right?
Yes. It was the ultimate like just crush.
It's the funniest thing I've seen all night.
That's right.
Things have to get worse before they get better, right? Totally.
That's right. Fate works in fucked up ways, as they say.
I agree. I don't think he's stalkerish. I do think, it's kind of crazy they never talked once, but at the same time, I think a lot of people have had crushes on that person that they've never talked to. It's pretty relatable. I don't know. There's something about her not even knowing him at all that I'm kind of like, all right, I think you can do better then. You know what I mean, Preston? Like, go with a girl who actually like at least knows your first name. Like you were in class together, like schools can be big. I think Sabrina, Melissa Joan Hart says like, I want to get all 522 seniors. So it's a big class.
That's right.
But I don't know. I just feel like when your world is in high school and your world is small, everyone's first name, I would think.
Right. I agree.
I don't know.
Or most of them, like 85%. And I'm sure Preston would have been one of those.
Yeah.
But she had a boyfriend all of high school, so.
Yeah.
It's true. And then
he was pretty controlling, I guess. Yeah. So.
Yes.
Ethan Embry plays him with like a great sense of earnesty, that like I think makes him very likable. And it's I guess he originally they wanted him for William the nerd, and he was like, okay, I guess. I can see why you would see me as a nerd. And apparently, when he came in for his audition, he had just fallen down on his skateboard and had road rash like all over. And he walked in, and they read, and they liked how he read, and they said they sent his tape to the studio, and they're like, no, and they're like, no, please, like, I swear he's good. And then like he'll cut his hair, he'll do this, like he won't have all that stuff all over him, like he'll be perfect. And they looked at other people, and there was just no one else that was right. And like, and because they liked that he wasn't like the typical leading dude. He wasn't quite a nerd, but he wasn't quite the jock. He's like, he kind of met somewhere. Yeah.
He's like a handsome nerd, like he's nerdy, but like Charlie Korsmo, as oh my gosh, I forget the guy's name. William. Yeah, like I mean, he's perfect in that kind of role. So like, yeah, once you have him, then you realize, yeah, Ethan Embry's a perfect Preston. He's like a very, very normal, like kind of middle of the road guy, which is what you need.
Yes,
role,
exactly.
You know?
And he's funny in a lot of ways too. I love when they're in the car and like he's talking about giving her the letter, and they're going back and forth, and she's like, oh, that like letter like you rewrote like over 4 billion times, and he just like snaps. He's like, oh, great, writers revise. Like, yes. It's just like little stuff like that that's funny. Or when he's like trying to talk to her and he like goes to cross his legs and he like kicks the candle over while he's like sitting next to her. It's like all those little kind of moments that are really funny. Or when she walks to the party and like he goes to maybe try to talk to her, and like she just walks by, and then she's like, Denise is like, oh, I really felt the connection there. It's all those little things with him that I think work. And overall, he's a very likable person, and it makes the whole like ending pay off really well too.
Exactly. You're really rooting for him.
I think he earned it.
And I feel like we're also rooting for Amanda, because like Mike is such an asshole, as they all call him, right?
Yeah.
So like even though obviously Preston's the lead, and we spend much more time with like Denise and even Seth Green, you know, Amanda's actually not. She almost feels like she's really only in it for like half the movie, which is kind of fun. But you're still totally rooting for her to find happiness as well, because like I even wrote in my notes, her creepy cousin.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
And you see it coming from a mile away.
Oh
too,
yeah,
which
a mile away.
The line is funny too, because they have to set it up so you know. And he's like, yeah, we're like family. She's like, oh yeah, you know, second cousins. And you're like, so it sets it up for us. We're like, all right, it's weird and gross.
And one of my favorite lines is, "You're my cousin," after he's just like kissed her. "You're my cousin through marriage."
Marriage. Like, you're not gonna tell my parents about this, are you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so great. But yeah, you're right. She is kind of not an afterthought, but since it is Jennifer Love Hewiit, it feels like you would think she'd be in the movie more, but she really is missing from like good chunks of it, and she comes into the party late, of course, with a very great entrance that they also make fun of, and not another teen movie. They make fun of it pretty well in that too.
Okay.
And how funny that Jamie Presley is in this, and then in not another teen movie, right? Yeah.
And it's so funny too, because I guess Deborah Kaplan hates that shot, even though everyone seems to love it. She's like, she just looks like she doesn't know what to do, and I think it's just so cheesy and weird. And everyone's like, dude, everyone loves that shot.
Yeah, but it's lovable for sure.
It's perfectly cheesy. It's so cheesy that it's like part of like 90s history, right?
Yeah,
and I think it kind of works in a way to kind of poke fun at like, you know, the popular girl walking to the party, and then like everyone's eyes are on her, especially because of what she's currently going through. So it actually think it works and makes sense.
Yeah.
I
don't know that actress's name, but I love how right before Amanda comes in, she goes, "Oh my god, I can't believe she came."
Oh, that's Tomala Jones. Sorry, I know that.
She's great. I love the Friends.
The only reason I said her name like that is I have the 10th anniversary DVD, and the cast commentary is great because they're all drunk, drinking margaritas while they're doing it.
That's awesome.
And when she gets introduced, Donald Faison is always like, "Oh, Tomala Jones." Cause he's like, "Oh, I know her." And then he points to every girl that he either has been in a movie with or auditioned with. He's like, "Oh yeah. That day player, I did an audition with her. I did a little movie with her." It's like a great listen if you ever get to listen to that commentary.
That sounds like so much fun. Is Jennifer Love Hewiit on it too?
No, she's not. But they mention her, and you know what? Like everyone that I've heard talk about her, they all say that she's just a sweetheart. I think everyone back then called her Love, like by her middle name. And
she went by Love.
Yeah, everyone's just said that she's the nicest person ever. And I guess before her kissing scene with Ethan Embry in his trailer, she left him like flowers and a note and mints, so he would be ready to like for the kissing.
That's so sweet.
That's so sweet. I mean, she had kissing experience, I'm sure, because on camera, because by now she probably was kissing. I don't know. I never actually watched Party of Five, but I
think
know,
she was kissing Scott Wolf by then.
Scott
On Party
Wolf,
of Five.
right?
Yeah,
I know they
on
were
Party
like
of Five,
yeah. So that's so cute. Yeah,
That is
I had
cute.
such a little crush on her. She was such a thing. But and credit to the casting directors and this cast. And I have to also shout out, I was looking up some of the ages. This is one of those few movies where like there are very few to know like 30-year-olds. Like at least
okay.
our
Are they all
leads,
pretty?
they're all
Okay.
actually like 20 to 24 at like the
Yeah.
oldest,
Peter Facinelli
Okay.
was 24 and had a kid, and
Oh my God,
and,
he had a kid?
and he had a kid with Ginny Garth because they were married for
Oh my
a
God,
long
were they
time.
already together at this
They're
time?
already
Wow.
together, and he said that he found out he got Can't Hardly Wait right when his wife was basically giving birth. He got the call that he got the
Oh
got the
my
part.
God, he was a young dad.
And then
He answered that
occasionally
phone. Like what?
and then he occasionally brought his kid to set when I guess when he
Aw.
had to. And there's actually one scene I guess where his kid accidentally poked him in the eye. So there's a scene in the movie where like there's a bunch of shadows on like one part of his eye because his eye is like bloodshot red, and they had to shoot though. So they were like, "Hey, like I think it's when he's approaching like one of his friends like about dumping like their girlfriends."
Wow.
And they were like,
Okay,
yeah, we had to light it in a way where you couldn't see his eye because like his daughter had like just poked him right in the eye and popped a blood vessel.
my God.
let me just clarify something right quick. So you said that the directors said that they wanted something like a movie that they could shoot in a weekend. Is that actually how long was the shoot for this movie? Is that actually like,
No, it
Okay.
ended up not being that way because once they got a studio involved and they could actually put
Then
money
they-
into it,
okay,
then they
okay,
kind of
okay.
expanded.
Right.
but that was
it.
just
Yeah.
the idea at the
But
beginning.
yeah,
like,
that was
no way
that was the
could've-
idea.
I was gonna
And-
say what?
and
my
honestly,
God.
most of these people in the cast. So Deborah Kaplan at the time was dating Breckin Meyer, who was
Yeah,
the
they were
lead singer,
together.
the lead singer of the Love Burger band in the film.
Yep.
So they were dating, and he knew like Ryan Phillippe, and like there's a whole bunch of connections with all these teen stars around this time. So the
And they were in
filmmakers
54, Studio
together.
54 this same
And-
year, which
right, so-
that's a great guilty pleasure.
So Breckin Meyer, she really wanted him for Preston too, and then he went off and did 54, which I guess he regrets because that's not it didn't turn out to be
Yeah.
the movie that they thought it was going to be. But they all had these like all these younger actors in their back pocket to like call and like, hey, do you want to come in for like a day? And a lot of people said that even though they were only supposed to be there for a day, they would just come back and hang out and just be like
Wow.
background extras because they were having so much fun doing this movie.
Yeah.
And they said they really felt like when they were filming the party stuff, it felt like a genuine party. So you actually get the vibe that everyone wanted to be there. And then when you look at even the smallest parts, a lot of those people ended up becoming like huge
Oh my
stars.
God, yes.
like
Oh my
huge,
gosh.
huge stars.
Like
it's
Jason
crazy.
Segel, like laughing with the blonde guy. I'm like,
Like-
oh my God, wow. There's
So,
we could
yeah, and
go
he-
through
and
the
he had-
long list.
Yeah, he had a bigger scene that got deleted because
did
he had infused his watermelon with like vodka, and there's a whole big scene where he talks about it, where he walks to the party and someone bumps into him and the watermelon falls on the ground and breaks. Which it makes more sense that he has the one piece later. And
he's
by the
licking
way,
it.
that whole scene where he's licking the watermelon and fingering it, they said that got right past the MPAA because the filmmakers were like, "Yo, he formed it into like a vagina, and that's what he's licking it and fingering it like it's a vagina." And like no one, like the MPAA did not like target that moment at all. They were just like, "Oh, whoops!" Like they were like they totally
Wow.
missed it. But that is what he was trying to like appear that he was doing while high.
Oh my God.
And then Amber Benson, who went on to play
Yeah.
Tara on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she has a blink of you moment cameo, just like
Yeah.
stroking up a banana because she's
Does she
high.
even say anything in the movie? I don't even think
She
she has
doesn't. But
Okay,
she
yeah.
had a bigger scene with Seth Green while she's high on ecstasy with this banana,
Oh,
and Seth
perfect.
Green is like humping her. And they thought it was funny then, but they were like watching it back now. That would have been very problematic and kind of
yeah.
kind
So,
of
wait.
rapey.
Yeah.
Definitely. So wait, Jason Segel is the guy that offers Amanda watermelon as she's
Yeah,
going down
yeah.
the stairs. Oh my
Yeah,
God, I didn't even catch
yeah,
that. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. And God, who else? There's like a bunch. Sarah Rue is in this too. She
Yeah,
plays.
can we go through the list?
yeah,
'Cause I wrote down the
go.
names.
Yeah,
Oh,
right,
okay.
yeah. Fire
All right.
it off. Fire it off.
You guys shout it out. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna go in order. Give me a second. So the first cameo, and maybe this is super nerdy of me, but the teacher in Preston's flashback of the first day he met Amanda, the
Yep.
teacher is Jan from Grease, the original
Grease, yeah.
Grease. Which I'm like,
Yep.
oh my God, I totally
Remind
did
me
not
of
realize
Jan.
that.
Who's Jan again?
Jan was the one
She a
with like
pink
the
lady?
She was a pink
Yeah, yeah.
lady, and
Oh,
she was
okay,
like
okay.
pretty, and she sang that like
Oh,
like, she-
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow.
So that's Jan from Greece.
Nice
okay.
catch.
Now we're gonna move on to like current people of this time, right? So, okay, hold on. Yeah, we have Breckin Meyer, Donald Faison, and Nicole Bilderback. She's the Asian actress
Asian girl.
who those three were all in Clueless together. There's so many fun connections here.
Okay.
You have Lauren Ambrose, who is awesome as Denise. Freddie Rodriguez, who is the Hispanic jock friend, who's the one saying like her parents.
Oh, the mirrors have mirrors.
And everybody's like, oh.
I
So
get the picture.
You have Lauren Ambrose, you have Freddie Rodriguez, and you have Eric Balfour, who's teaching the foreign exchange student about touching my penis or whatever. Those three were on the iconic show 6 Feet Under.
6 Feet
so you have
Under
that
together,
connection.
yeah.
Oh, I really gotta watch that.
He
for my
also
boy.
Eric Balfour also licks Lauren Ambrose's face because the brownie like hits her in the face and he licks her. Yeah, and they end up having a pretty significant relationship on 6 Feet Under.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's crazy that they all went on to do.
I have season 1 of that and I haven't seen it yet, but Michael C. Hall is like my guy, so I gotta watch that show.
Oh my
so
God,
good.
Jackson,
Special
it's
shout out.
so good. I haven't seen it in
wait.
years, but that series finale is
One of the best
iconic.
last
It is
episodes.
life-changing. It haunts me to this day. It is
okay.
so perfect.
Is it
Stuck
HBO or
right.
Showtime?
HBO.
HBO.
It stuck the landing for sure. Completely
Oh
stuck.
my
Okay,
God.
I'm gonna watch this soon.
Yeah.
But so then we have Seth Green and Amber Benson, like you mentioned, Gaius, little Buffy connection. Who else do we have? I have Jamie Presley, Clea Duvall, love Clea Duvall, who says I'm allergic to.
To dancing. He's like, oh, do you want
Seth
to
Green.
dance?
Yep, and she of course later this year did the iconic The Faculty. So she was like such a like
another one I gotta see.
moody girl. Oh yeah,
She's
Jackson,
in She's All That. She's in She's All That as well later.
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, there's a.
She has a really small role in that, right?
They just recycle these people.
Oh yeah, they're like you're gonna
During
play a
this time.
teen for at least 5 years. So just get to that set, right?
Yeah.
What else? We have Leslie Grossman and Sarah Rue are from Popular, Ryan Murphy's
Murphy's
first show. Hilarious show. Who else do I have here? Then we have a Scream 2 connection with Jerry O'Connell, Marisol Nichols, who is literally blink and you miss her. She's like
I know
one
that
of
name. What do I know her from?
Riverdale. She's
Riverdale,
Veronica's
who's she?
mom in Riverdale.
Yes.
Beautiful actress. Yes, she
Oh,
was a
she's
little bit of a
amazing.
thing at this time because then she was in Vegas Vacation as Chevy Chase's random Latina daughter.
Fuck.
So we have Marisol Nichols, we have Jerry O'Connell, we have Selma Blair, because technically Selma Blair is in Scream 2 as the voice on the phone with Sarah Michelle Gellar, right?
Sarah Michelle Gellar, yeah.
Look at you.
I love that little Scream 2 connection. Then I have Jason Segel, and I'm sure there's more. There's even
You have a Cruel Intentions connection too. Sean Patrick Thomas, who's one of the jocks, the black jock. He's in Cruel Intentions along with Selma Blair, who is also in.
Oh my
in Cruel
God, I didn't even
Intentions.
catch that. Genius Gaius, yes, one of the best. I almost wore my
There's a
Cruel
lot.
Intentions
There's
shirt tonight.
a lot going on.
It is like 6 degrees of 90s perfection. I love it. But yeah, that's like most of the key connections there. But there's even like that guy, one of the jock. I think it's funny the jocks don't even have names. I looked
Jock
on
number
IMDb,
1, Jock number 2,
Jock 1, 2, and 3, and it's not like
the
they're in one
nerds
scene.
are X-File and X-File 2. One,
The
one,
nerds.
2.
The nerds are so
That's
funny.
awesome.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
they
But
are.
there's even the one jock who was right before this in Boogie Nights. He's in that scene, if you guys have seen Boogie Nights, which was like, to my young eyes, I was like, wow, this is interesting. Like jerking off in the car. I don't know if I can say that, but with Mark Wahlberg, I'm like,
There's nothing off limits.
You're good.
You know, so like so many, even if you don't know their name, so many familiar faces of this time for sure.
Yeah,
More than I had even realized. That's awesome.
And the interesting thing about Charlie Korsmo, he had taken a break from acting because he was a kid actor. He was in like Dick Tracy, What About Bob? He was in Hook.
Yeah.
And then he went to MIT because he's super smart. And then he was like, oh, I think I might want to try to do this acting thing again. And he went in for it, but they had already cast someone else. And what's interesting, they cast someone who was what they realized compared to the other actors, even though the other actors were in their early 20s, the guy they cast was about 15, 16, and he looked it.
Yeah.
And the guy they cast,
Bird,
Bird, who ends up being in Halloween H2O, he plays Jodie Lynn O'Keefe's boyfriend, but they said that he looked too young compared to everyone else.
He was pretty young because he was also in the Ice Storm, which just came out like a few months earlier than this. And I mean, he's there with like Christina Ricci, like those, and like Elijah Wood, like they were like real teens. So I could see him looking just way too young compared to everyone else.
So Charlie Korsmo said, like, they're like, okay, we need you. Can you come on a Monday? And he's like, okay. Then I'm in a studio recording Paradise City, and then I go to set, and then they were like, all right, you're our new William, and then that was it.
You know, I like Adam Hanbird. He also hasn't really done a ton since this era, but Charlie Korsmo is so fun in this movie. I
Mhm.
can't
He
imagine
gets
anyone else but him.
gradually better. Like, I mean, he's funny in the beginning, but
with his
the
monologue.
but the scenes with him drunk, trying to
Yeah.
get Mike to like go outside. He's like, we gotta go because there's chicks and there's girls. Like trying to get him to go outside. He's really funny in those moments too with him. And I don't know, he's perfect for that part. And of course, he pulls
Yeah.
off the Paradise City thing.
Oh, so fun.
I mean, it's a really iconic moment for, I mean, teen movie moment, I think, in general.
Totally.
Oh,
That
yeah.
he pulls off very well. Yeah, I can't.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Adam Hamburg would have been fine based on what he looks like. I could see him pulling off being a nerd, but I'm glad they. I mean, unfortunate for him, but glad they
Well,
went the
definitely,
other.
yeah, but
went the
Yeah.
other way.
Charlie
And,
Korsmo just gets. I just feel like he gets the comedy more or something. He just looks funny too. I don't want to be mean or anything. I don't mean that in a negative way. He just
Yeah.
looks the part so well, you know. And I love his monologue. And it's funny. I've actually assigned monologues from this movie to actors I coach often because they're
that's
so
great.
good.
Sweet.
Again, it's very similar to like it feels like a play. Almost everyone has their long kind of like soliloquies, you know. And actually, I have done both Preston's and Charlie Korsmo's Williams monologue for auditions in the past. Like this has been like
Nice.
just my go-to for monologues. I don't know what it is. I love it. So
No, there's some good ones. There's some good ones in here.
yeah,
Definitely some
everyone
classic
gets
ones.
a good one. Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to ask you about Seth Green, Kitty Fisher, because I think back then this was really funny, and I wonder today. It's still funny to me today, but I wonder if this comes out today. Is it problematic today, or is it still funny?
Great question. What do you think, Jackson?
Well, I think honestly, you know what this reminded me of? I don't know how familiar you guys, maybe use more so Mark, just because it's an East Coast thing, but this guy, Seth's character, Kenny, he made me think he's like the OG J-Rock from Trailer Park Boys. You know what I mean? Like the white
that's
guy that
interesting.
acts
Yeah.
and talks like he's black, like that. I think it's problematic today, but I think depending on who you are as a director, I think you might implement that in your film. I think it really just depends on what studio is making this, who's making it, and how much flack you're willing to take if you're going to implement that as a character trait. I thought it was hilarious. I mean, it got old after a while, and then I was grateful for the break where he gets locked in the bathroom with the niece and she calls him out for it, and he just kind of speaks normally. But then when he's like gets defensive with her and then starts talking that way again, I like burst out laughing. Like it was funny, but interesting. I guess it would kind of be a situational thing if I were to guess if it could fly today. But
Right.
it's something you don't definitely see, that's for sure.
Not
Sorry
as
if you
much,
guys.
for sure.
I hate to interrupt. Sorry if you can hear my
No.
dog barking. I think
No, you're
I
good.
couldn't even hear it.
Oh, good. Okay, good. But no, it's hard. And I'm so curious what you think, Gaius, especially as a person of color, of course. But like,
Right.
yeah, it's hard. Back then, it was hilarious. And I knew white boys just like that.
So
right?
did I, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
such a thing for a kind of a while, right? And so back then it was funny. And again, I think because it's just that weird thing our brains do where like a movie you love, you'll always kind of view it with the younger self that you have, right? So I
Rose-colored
still think
glasses,
it's
yeah.
exactly right. I still
Yeah.
think it's funny, like because I think, I hope, I assume that they're like making fun of those guys because it's so bizarre
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
and wrong, right?
And
Yeah.
yes, it's
I
complete
don't-
parody.
I don't think it's offensive. Again, I'm a white guy, so I don't know. I am choosing to believe that they are making fun of those idiots that talk that way, you
I'm
know,
with
and
ya.
that put on that voice and then so quickly take it away, right? But yeah, is it problematic? I think it was probably always problematic, but it was
Totally.
such a part of the culture. I mean, Eminem was about to break out, you know, so we had Mark Wahlberg already was a huge star,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he kind of put on that, you know, so
Yep.
yeah, it's hard because it was such a thing. What do you think, Gaius? Like, especially back then and now, how have you changed?
So back then, because I think there was a lot, and I knew a lot of guys like this, even though this is very exaggerated kind of, well, I don't know if it's an exaggerated character, because I think they wore exactly like this. The guys I knew who were very white, but like kind of adopted like hip hop culture a little bit.
Right.
I think it's funny, and I think it could work today if you kind of frame it as satire. And because I think they're making fun of people like this. I
believe that,
I agree.
yeah,
I agree
totally.
with both of you that it's, you know, that's what they're kind of calling out. I think there's a movie called Not Okay that came out last year where Dylan O'Brien's character acts like this, and they do, and they're poking fun at it too, because there's a moment in the movie later where someone calls him out. She's like, "Oh, like you're from like Minnesota," and he's like, "Yeah, so like basically like yeah, you're white, like calm the fuck down." So if I think it's kind of being presented as like kind of like satire spoof. If you're making fun of people like that, you're not really. It's not to be taken, too seriously. I don't think.
Just randomly, another example of this that pops in my head is Alien and Spring Breakers.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like it really is like I don't know. Like I remember in the theater when I first saw it, like he got the most laughs like from the people that were there. And from the people that have subsequently I watched the movie with, they love him the most because he is the most obvious joke. I mean, it's either him or Mike Dexter who get the most laughs for like the stuff that they do. And I think Seth Green plays it well, and I think Seth Green also kind of was in on the joke of like, what can I do to over exaggerate this, and kind of like, because even he says he knew people like that back then, so it was just like he was just making fun of them.
I'll just say I was so not expecting that when his character opens his mouth for the first time. I was like, oh, this is what we're getting into.
I was like, Jackson, that must have been so funny for you, because like it was in the trailers. I remember the commercials, like they were really, playing him up. So like we knew what we were getting in for, but oh my gosh, that must have been such a crazy story.
He
has some good delivery, like when he goes to talk to the Asian girl that's crying, and he's just like, "Oh baby, please, you are far too fine to look so sad."
I know, he's like singing his lines. It's great. Like he has this like sing-songy thing going
and
on.
I love how they introduce every character, but his is my favorite, where it like all the stuff pops up and it says JV basketball 1 game, and then his quote is from Tupac. It's like, "Picture me rolling," and like I think it's pretty funny. And they give Jennifer Love Hewitt, I forgot the exact Jewel quote, but they gave Amanda Beckett like a quote from Jewel. Like all of theirs like makes sense.
I'm so glad you're bringing that up, because that was so brilliant that they gave our 6 leads like little kind of like yearbook moments.
That was super cool feature.
So cute, really cool. But also, again, a 1998 connection with the faculty. I loved how the faculty, when we introduce, I think again, like our 6 or 8 leads or so, it freezes and we see their name. We don't get like the all the yearbook stuff. But I did kind of like how this year, 1998, this time in like teen movies, they were getting a little creative with like focusing on our leads in sort of an ensemble. So yeah, I just thought that was so brilliant to give us little snapshot yearbook graphics.
Added a lot to the movie for sure, to the characters, I suppose.
And it helps. It honestly helps you focus on like, okay, 100%. Who am I actually rooting
like,
for?
Who's the most important person here? I know you brought up Peter Facinelli a little bit earlier. You said he was really funny. I'm gonna double down on that. I'm watching it again today. He leans in so heavily on what this stereotype is and does it well. His delivery is like so good. And I also love, so this is also, I want to talk about this too, because it's a little bit problematic. The scene where he tries to convince Amanda to like take him back, and then she's like basically like, no, like why would I do that? And then he kind of goes off on her, and then like he looks like an idiot in front of everyone. And then at the end of that scene, the button on that scene is a girl in the party that uses like a derogatory term for the word gay, and that word is actually said, I think, 4 times.
I counted at least 4. Yeah, and not great.
Not great. And then I found myself feeling bad, like when he goes up to William and he's like crying, and he basically is like, "And someone in there called me," and like I laughed because the delivery was funny. But it also is just like, I can't believe that we were just throwing that word around so much in 1998, and it was just not a problem. Like it was
totally
no one batted an eye. It was just like,
that's what I talk about sometimes on my show with this era. So many great movies, such great memories, but like people were mean to each other, and you see it in this movie, especially like the guys with the girls. Like Melissa Joan Hart, like I said, he pushes her out of the way. Funny, but like, a movie nowadays like Booksmart did not. I mean, there were people that didn't like each other, but no one was calling each other the F word. No one was calling. No guys are calling girls bitch. Someone says, I think it's Seth Green's friends say like bitch, like, and it's like,
he even says it to Denise. I think he says something along the lines of like, man, why are you such a bitch?
Why are you being such a bitch?
Why? Exactly.
So I'm happy that we have just as society and in film, we've like progressed past that because it was a fun time, but it also people were nasty to each other. People were not patient with each other.
And
right?
also the nerd revenge plan is really problematic too. So the idea is to the idea is to jump him and then like
chloroform him
and then take
like,
compromising pictures
shit.
of like homoerotic pictures of him with someone and then use it as blackmail and like that. Like again, back then I was like, oh, that's hilarious. But then like watching it now, I was like, oh, that doesn't age well at all, like it whatsoever.
And like, what could be fun if the movie was remade today is there's still a moment there where they could still like, take pictures of them, but it's less about boy bodies being intertwined and more like, these two would never date. Like these are, like you can spin it a little differently where there's still some excitement there. But yeah, they're putting them in like the weird pom-poms on his nipples and like they're just
there's a little squid toy.
And it looks like almost like a condom or something is like on a leg and it's like, yeah, this is getting weird. But also real quick about the nerds, I had never ever in my rewatches caught this until today. When they're falling asleep on the roof, there's a really weird line. Did you guys catch this?
Which one?
So one of them,
you get it's really funny.
So many weird lines that the two of them say, and they are funny for the most part. But also, I kind of got a gay vibe from them. I thought they were gonna start like flirting or something, but that's besides the point. And that would have been cool. But no, they're falling asleep. They're sleeping, like waiting for, to do their thing. And then one of them says, no, don't put that probe there, daddy, or something along those lines.
So one of them, the blonde says, don't put that probe there. And the other one just says, daddy. That's it.
Is it when they're waking up, they're coming in, they're like startled awake?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I do remember seeing the word daddy in the subtitles and I was like kind of lost as a context. But
yeah, so I'm not sure what that was about, but that was definitely weird. Obviously, it was intentionally weird to make us laugh and go like, huh? But I don't know what they were saying with that moment, but okay. All right, sure. Weird.
Yeah, it was really, there is some random like kind of line drops where you're like, that didn't really need that, but whatever.
And also, speaking of like kind of weird, what do you guys think about the Jenna Elfman angel stripper scene? Like I never loved it, and rewatching it, I honestly was fast forwarding it. I like the idea that Preston, first of all, they're at a payphone, and that this drama between them would never happen now.
No, can you imagine?
Well, and then you see how he is aggressively banging on it when like I was I think most people would be scared and be like, what the fuck are you doing? I mean, I know
honestly, like, that was nasty. She should not have hung up on his call. Like, I'd be so upset. But there's something about that for me personally, as an adult now rewatching it, it starts to drag. The movie does start to drag a little bit once we introduce her, and then we're locked in the bathroom, which is cute. But then after a while, I'm like, okay, we got to get back to the momentum that we had in the first half of the movie. But maybe that's
the first half of it moves when you're like going like getting to the party. I actually thought all that stuff. That holds up really well. You're right. Once the action moves out of there. And after Preston sees her cousin like kissing her, but he interprets it as something else. When he leaves and we get out of the party a bit, it does start to drag. I guess they wrote that scene originally where he would go to a diner and talk to a waitress, and she would be older and like give him advice.
That's what I was kind of waiting for.
So much better.
Scene.
But they said that they thought that would be too typical, and they wanted to do something different. And so I get the intentions behind like you're gonna have this like random stranger give him advice. I never loved that scene either. I see the intention behind it, like giving him the motivation to go back and like do what he needs to do. But
there's that fun moment where like she's talking about Scott Baio and she thinks he's like obsessed with Barry Manilow, and he's actually like, no, you don't get it, right?
Oh, so, that's the whole point. Yeah,
there's some fun comedy there, but also I feel like part of the reason why even as a kid I wasn't totally interested in that scene is I felt like they wanted a bigger star. No shade to Jenna Elfman. She was on Dharma and Greg at the time. But like, I feel like that was written for like a bigger cameo deal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
What do I know her from? because I
Darman
recognize her
Greg was a big
instantly.
deal. I think
That's not it. I don't think I
recently she
recognize
was
it.
in one of the Walking Dead shows. I heard. I
Oh,
stopped
okay.
watching a long time ago.
I
But
haven't seen her. She was a thing back then though.
I recognize her instantly, but I couldn't. Again, she was one of those.
she was also in
many cast members I couldn't
like
place.
I'm trying to think of like big movies she was
Like,
in. Ed TV. with
Ed
Matthew
TV.
McConaughey. Yeah, that was a big deal.
She's in Keeping the Faith with Edward Norton and Ben Stiller. She's
Yeah.
in Friends with Benefits, but I don't know how long she's in that.
I don't think she's in that very long. Yeah.
Yeah, she
She's
was
a
mostly a TV.
Scientologist. Maybe you know her from that. Are you a
There we go.
Scientologist?
Oh, I did not know that about her. No.
Or at least she was.
She's mostly a TV person.
Yeah.
Okay.
though.
There's something there. I have to go through a filmography.
Yeah.
But
She definitely was a thing, but I don't know. There's something. I think the casting with that role could have been a bit more exciting. I don't know who could have done it. I'm trying to think. In '98, who was like an older actress?
Yeah, I
mean,
can't think of like.
Yeah, it's tough. We'd have to take some time to
Look
think
it
about
up.
that. But
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that probably might have been for a bigger person to play that part. That would have taken it on. I just think it's also
Joan
really out of
Cusack,
place.
I would have cast.
Oh my God, John Cusack,
She
our
would've been great.
queen. I mean, this was a big, yeah, totally. You know what could have been fun also to go more with, like the Grease theme is like how iconic would it have been if it was like
Olivia
Newton-John.
John.
Oh
that would have
my
been.
God.
That would have been cool.
Like that
That
would have been
would've been
fun if they
awesome.
did just lean into some or Molly Ringwald, because Molly Ringwald
That
was
would have been a
popping
good
up
one
in
too.
Teaching Mrs. Tingle. She had a
Crazy.
cameo.
Another
Crazy-
Riverdale
cra-
alum.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Crazy you brought her up because they didn't say why they didn't go after her, but wait, they originally when it was the diner waitress situation, they thought about Molly Ringwald, but they didn't.
okay.
But they didn't say why if they didn't get her or not. But that's
Where do you get
that
these
brought her-
insights?
I know you. I love Gaius. You have so much info on this
Well,
movie. Where did you look?
Some of it's on the DVD. that I
Okay.
watched.
Okay, yeah, the DVD,
That's
yeah,
great.
sure.
Yeah. It's so weird
be
watching it
helpful.
because it's the 10th anniversary edition, and
Yeah.
now everyone is like in their like late
50s,
early
like
50s.
yeah,
like,
right?
Whoa.
It's like, oh, I
guess
like
late
this time.
40s, yeah.
I like this like time capsule of them like in their 20s.
Yeah.
Just want to
Yeah.
keep them right here.
And a lot of them are still looking really good. Like
Jennifer Love Hewitt still looks great.
she looks good. Preston, Ethan Embry,
Ethan
Lauren
Embry.
Ambrose was just on Yellow Jackets, which oh my God, don't get me
Yeah.
started on that show. That really
Oh,
started
okay.
tanking. But she was
Yeah.
just on that, looking great, and she's on Servant, the M Night Shyamalan Apple
Shyamalan show,
show.
yeah.
Loved season one of that show. That show was
Yeah,
started
season
sick.
one,
I
and then
didn't finish
I,
it, but
I kind of, jumped off the train, but I did really like it for sure. She's good. She's always been good. But,
The entire main cast is still actively working,
oh yeah,
which is like
Mhm.
really
Nice.
really cool. Yeah,
Peter
yeah, they're
Facinelli
all-
looks great. So yeah, I mean, it's a good group. But Jamie Presley, I mean, even the smaller roles, they're all looking
So
good.
fun
So-
story about Jamie Presley. My friend Morgan Brown is an assistant to a director. She used to work on the show Mom, and Jamie Presley was on that. And she actually brought Jamie Presley to the Hermosa Beach Pier, and she let me know she's like, "Hey, like I'm bringing Jamie Presley, but like don't do that thing like where you're like, oh, I know you from that thing." And I was like, all right. But then I had like a couple shots of me, and then
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah. How could
I
you
was like,
not? Honestly,
and I was like, I'm so sorry, I got to do this. And Morgan was like, good God, no. And I was like, I don't know, I just love like even the little bit that you do and can't hardly wait. And she was just like, I loved making that movie. I'm glad that you enjoyed. She loved talking about it. She had a good time
yeah.
doing it. Like she wasn't like, oh God, I don't want to
Love
like
it.
discuss that. But yeah, she was like, it was a fun group of people. And she
That's
even
amazing.
echoed the whole sentiment of like, yeah, like even if we weren't working, we wanted to go to that set and just like kind of just be there and
That
hang
is
out.
so
like,
rare. Wow.
so, like, she's like, it was a very fun time. She said, like, at that age for her to like be in a movie like that with all those people. And I mean, all those people that she was like, everyone auditioned with each other. They all know each other from like, some of them went to theater school together, or they just known each other from going around LA. Like it was that little late 90s group was like our 90s like Brat Pack.
Well, and
like,
yes,
like,
exactly. And especially
and-
because of Clueless and Scream and then Titanic, right? And I've talked about this on my show. Teens, or at least like early to mid 20s,
And then like Romeo and Juliet too. I guess.
Romeo
like,
and Juliet, like
yeah.
that age range of like 20 to 25, you were on top of the world. You were in everything. Everything was so skewed young, whereas nowadays we have all ages that are like front and center, right? We actually have a more, I feel like, really cool older focused characters than
Completely
back then,
agreed.
right?
Yeah.
Now 25 years ago it was all about the teens. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a little problematic that the pool of talent was so small. They were really looking at the same people over and over. It's a shame, but
Yeah.
on the flip side, I mean, you just grew to love so many of the actors at this time,
Well,
because
I
then
kind
even
of feel,
some of them
you
moved
know,
on to go to Bring It On, and I mean, like
yeah,
just teen movies this time were like
yeah.
perfect.
It kind of makes me wonder too, like Jackson, like your generation, do you guys really have that group
Mm.
of people? Like, it doesn't. I mean, I try to stay in the loop, but I don't know if it's like it was for us.
No, I definitely
In
don't
like
think it is. I
late
think
'90s, early
like
2000s.
I definitely don't think that's nearly like honestly, I think that my sort of like demographic looks towards like 80s and 90s, kind of like the Brat Pack and stuff as like the foremost example. I don't think we really have one of our own. I'd say like maybe the closest you would get to like would be maybe like Little Women, like especially with like Lucas Hedges and Timothy Chalamet and Florence Pugh and a few of those people, but
Mm.
I don't really feel like
Prestige.
we have what you guys. Yeah, exactly. I don't think we really have what you guys had in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I think by the time you were coming up, casting was there just were more options, like more actor options, and people were getting
Yeah,
like more like diverse, not only with race, but just choosing different people. It wasn't always the
exactly. It
same
wasn't. Yeah,
kind of incestuous pool of people,
Yeah,
that's right.
it's interesting. I think by the time you get the OC and then you get to Gossip Girl, I think that's when you see them stop reusing a lot of
Hmm.
the, like, this was like this new generation of pretty people, and
Mhm.
then after those shows kind of came and went, they just found another generation of pretty people,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it wasn't like they were recycling them anymore. And then of course some of those generation of pretty people, they go on to do bigger things outside of like kind of like the teen movie TV show
Yeah.
market, but like this era of people, they embraced it fully. I mean, it was like the stuff they were it was the stuff that hit really well. It was
Yeah.
Hmm.
it was really good to be them across movies and TV. It wasn't just like one
Oh
medium.
yeah.
So like it was a really good time. That's why I think it's interesting, just talking about how this movie performed, that it didn't do that well. It made $25 million. It made its money back,
Well,
but
damn, and then some. Yeah.
it
Mhm.
came and went fairly quick compared. If you were to look at the box office grosses for Varsity Blues, She's All That, 10 Things I Hate About You, Cruel Intentions, and then American Pie, which is like the biggest of them, it paled in comparison to what those movies made. And I'm kind of
So
wondering what you
interesting.
guys think about like why this
Hmm.
one didn't hit as well. Because some people think it's because, especially the filmmakers, they really wanted an R rating for it. They fought for one, and
Uh
then the studio was like, no, that won't make money. And then they say like a year later they watch like American Pie, and they're like, well, it does make money. So like,
why I'll never understand why that is. Why studios are so
I,
hesitant. It's been
I,
proven wrong time
I'm
and time
also
again.
surprised that, I mean, I would have loved to know what the rules are to get an R rating in a movie like this, because you have the F word said like
Yeah,
four
multiple
times.
times,
The N
Right.
word is said once, even though it's with the A at the end.
and by a white person.
By
I
a white
couldn't
person.
believe that.
I mean, I
was
guess,
like,
but
Yeah.
I guess they're like, oh, well, that's the joke, right? I mean, again,
yeah,
when I
but
first
still.
saw the movie, I was like, oh, that's funny. But then watching it now, I was like, well, how did that you could still be PG-13 with like
Right.
all this up in it? But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to know like why you guys think it didn't hit
Marco,
It's a
leave
the
it to
way.
you.
great.
I really don't have. I got nothing.
You're like,
I don't
I
know.
don't know what you're talking about. No, it's a great question, Gaius, because when I looked up the box office, I was surprised too, because like we've been saying, like our age groups, like this was a thing. People were talking about this movie. People were quoting this movie. So
Yeah.
I haven't rewatched the trailer in full in a while, but I wonder if for whatever reason, I'm trying to think, because what was the most recent teen movie before this was
I
like
don't
were
think we
there
had like a big teen comedy for a while.
in
I
a
mean, like,
while? I guess
I
it
mean,
was
What
because
was it
Clueless.
competing with?
it was,
in theaters at the time,
I
maybe?
think it was, so this opened behind the second weekend of the Truman Show,
Mhm.
Ooh.
and a movie called 6 Days, 7 Nights with Harrison Ford
Mhm.
and
And
Anne
Heche.
Heche.
Yeah,
It like
that was the
opened the
thing.
third, and yeah, I guess Clueless was the last big comedy,
Probably.
and then horror took over because you had Scream, and then I Know You Did Last
Yeah.
Summer, and then Scream 2. I don't think you got like a genuine teen comedy
Comedy.
until
They
this one.
they
So
came a little, yeah, you're right. So maybe
so
this was just slightly ahead of
the
the
first,
game,
yeah,
Or,
True.
we have to remember back at this time, we like burned through our VHS tapes and DVD players. So
yeah,
it's not like now where like you watch one like something and it's done and then you're like, okay, moving on to the next thing. So
yeah.
people might still have been quoting and obsessed with Clueless 3 years prior. So maybe
True.
this just kind of felt like a Clueless knockoff with the whole party and like, maybe it was just like, I don't know. That's the biggest argument I would have for it is like maybe something older, you know, and even Romeo and Juliet with Leo and Claire, maybe people were just rather rewatching those big hits than trying something new. But it beats me because the cast, I mean, just showing these faces, you had stars of I Know What You Did Last Summer, Buffy. I mean, you know, you just had Sabrina the Teenage Witch, you know? So, I mean, I don't know. It's a mystery to me. Maybe it just was ahead of the game a little too much, you know?
Yeah. You know, sometimes they say it's hard to come out like first. And I know it wasn't first as Clueless was, but I think there was like the gap. And this was like the kind of the first of like this kind of new resurgence of like these kind of movies, these stars being in these movies. And I think that's could be why, you know, we had to like test it out.
It is funny that Clueless's success didn't make this come out earlier. It's funny how not until
it was Scream
that like, you know, made everyone greenlight, you know. So it is funny how like something of a different genre takes off, and now all these other things of all kinds of genres are trying to copy that zeitgeisty thing. You know?
You would think, based on how everyone talks about Can't Wait and quotes it, that it was just as successful as all those movies that we just mentioned, because it gets lumped in there with them, rightfully so. Everyone knows it.
True.
I mean, for the most part, that like kind of grew up during that era. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. I've said this before, when your movie can get discovered later and it finds life.
That's the real success, I think.
Beyond the theatrical release. This is a pretty big example of that. I'm sure from like you said, like DVD and then watching it on TV, cable, and all that. I'm sure that helped boost his profile. And I think as the older it gets, the more people discover and become aware of it. And even, you know, my little brother really likes it. I was surprised because sometimes I'm like, oh, he's gonna think it's kind of dated, and he thought it was really funny. And
nice.
And he found it. He found the overall like idea behind it, the idea of the party and coming together with like your friends, especially like that last party during high school. He was like, that's just relatable. I think anyone can relate to that part of it a bit.
All over. One little tropey thing that I did think was funny was, I just feel like so many of these movies, the lead is going to college or leaving town the next day, which I'm like,
which like, did that happen to interview guys in like coming out of high school?
I think I maybe knew a couple people who left like August 1st, but most people
always in movies and TV
like late August.
Like, right? I got early admission. I had to leave the day after graduation. Like, what?
Right. I'm like, that's so convenient. So it's a little tropey. Again, I wouldn't change a thing. Super cute, super funny. But yeah, that was my first note, because I feel like even Booksmart did that too. Like, this is the last night we have together. It's like, where do all these characters go the next day?
Yeah, I think it was like add drama to the story. To add angsty.
I think much like you guys, I had almost a full summer with my high school friends, the like senior class, before everyone that left
summer
left.
Ever, man.
And that was like a really huge summer. And
the next day, I feel like I woke up late and I just hung out with friends. I was like, all right, what are we doing today?
So that's what, you know, that's why I thought it was cool that they end up at a diner at the end, because after our grad party, that's where we went to Denny's after our graduation party. So I was like, that's pretty relatable. What was, do you remember, did you guys have like a big grad party or grad night, like to kind of end things for
we did it was called Project Graduation, which I feel like is pretty common now, but like it was to deter us from going to a party and drinking.
Yes,
so
ours is like, safe grad.
Yep. Okay. So like,
lamer, but
hey, I mean,
it's right there in the name.
Safe grad.
Don't make any dumb choices.
I guess you're right. It could have been a cooler name, right? But no. Yeah. The school put it on, and if I remember correctly, so we left, we graduated, and it's so funny. I still remember my graduation like pretty well. But then we all got into buses and went to the Flyers skate zone, because I'm from the Philly area. So we went into Philly,
cool.
Ice skating, and like there were costumes and prizes, and then from there went on a cruise ship, the Spirit of Philadelphia. It didn't leave the dock.
And
the whole time, like we're there's like a dance party inside. There's like all kinds of. It was pretty amazing. I mean, we had to pay for this. There was like some sort of fee or something. But I just remember like being outside on the deck, and we're like, and we just kept counting down. We're like, okay, we're gonna like finally leave the dock in 3, 2, 3, We just never left. And then we ended the night, which then was the morning, at a diner in town. Like we just took it over.
Okay.
And so that's what we did. What did you do for your thing, Jackson?
Similar, we left right from in high school, our graduation ceremonies at it's the Aiken Center, which is like our hockey rink on the university campus, because it can just accommodate so many people. We left right from the ceremony, hopped on the buses, went to like a local entertainment kind of center. It's like an indoor kind of amusement park, and did a bunch of stuff there. And then we hightailed it back to our town, which is like 20 minutes away, and went to with this big community gym, with like a pool and courts and a gym, and it's pretty tame, but it was fun to just be with the whole grad class and all your friends and people you're probably not going to see again for years. And this one goes to 7 a.m. We're out all night. They give us breakfast in the morning, and then the buses drop us off at home. And one of the most surreal experiences, I still remember being dropped off after being up all night and walking down the street to my house alone and being I'm done high school. This is completely insane, weird feeling. Surreal. But we had our big chance to wild out at what we call prom party, which even not just the seniors go to. Sometimes there's we call them grade 10s and 11s, but so juniors and sophomores go to too sometimes. And that was in a big pit in the middle of nowhere, where you get dropped off and just pitch a tent and try not to die. It's fun as hell. That was a great time. But at Safe Grad, it's all it's a dry event and stuff, but it was fun.
We had two. We had the one that I think what Mark would describe to deter us from having a party where there'd be alcohol. So we had a grad night at this family fun center right after graduation, and that was fun. But a lot of the senior class discussed okay, we want to have this other party on the Saturday where that's bigger. And we all collectively at least knew someone that had an older brother. It had to be an older brother, never an older sister that would try to buy us alcohol. It was always an older brother. And
of course, what are they for, right?
And the girl who hosted the party, her parents are never in town. And looking back on it, I was I don't know why her parents were never home, but they're never home. But she reminds me of the girl that hosted the party in this movie, because she would have these big parties, but don't go in that room and don't do this. I'm why do you have 50 fucking people in here and we can't even calm down, right?
Right.
But we had a big kind of rowdy party the next day.
It sounds like you lived this movie then. Probably some characters were going through the same thing at this.
So that's why I think this one, I think of all the teen movies, kind of reminds me a bit more of the high school experience I had towards the end there. There's little elements in 10 Things I Hate About You, but I mean that movie is so, the high school experience in there seems so movie that's that's not quite how it works. I definitely didn't live Cruel Intentions. I don't think anyone did.
This is why I'm hesitant to start Euphoria, because I'm that is so not relevant.
Oh, you have
my high school
Euphoria.
Experience.
Wow.
No, I'm not. I'm that does not seem like high school to me. But
Can't Hardly Wait definitely felt like it did. That I know
they did a great job.
I know the stereotypes are a little exaggerated in the movie, but I mean we all knew at least someone some of the people.
Yeah, and we know what they're going for.
And,
yeah.
So
it's
that's
relatable.
why
it's very.
That's why
relatable.
I didn't really I read someone else's review, because this has a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. It didn't get good reviews, but it wasn't made for
much better
critics.
than that.
But I think it's better than that. I mean, it's not an A+ movie,
charm. Right.
But on Rotten, I would give it I don't know, I'm
mid-60s.
Yeah,
maybe higher.
Right.
I think it has I think it has a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Which seems
I think that's fair. Could be higher, but
I think nostalgia would make me give it a 7, just because
there you go,
nostalgia,
for sure.
Nostalgia. But definitely not as it's weird when you love movies like this, and you go back and oh, I wonder what everyone thought about it back then, and you look up a 41%, oh,
kind of hurts the heart a bit.
A little bit.
That's why I take reviews with a grain of salt. I try not to care too much about Rotten Tomatoes. I'm more of a Metacritic guy, but even the number on Metacritic, I'm okay, well, that's what they say. Let's actually give it a shot, because so many movies I loved as a kid or teen, I'm wait, it was a 30? What? It's a 100,
Yeah.
So yeah.
I do want to ask you too, really quick before we wrap things up. When you go to a party, and it's a big group event, what do you personally, what do you bring to the party? Whether it's if it's the humor, the music, the booze, snacks, what is it? What a
good question. That is a great question. Damn.
And
Oh my
whoever wants to
gosh.
take it first,
I'm going to give it to the young one, Jackson.
Shit.
You're probably
I was
going to,
hoping I could dwell
you're
on
probably going to
something
more
like-
parties than I haven't gone to a party with more than a handful of people
people.
in years. I mean, I'm
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I get this from my mom. I love to host. It's not. I don't find like with the group of friends that I like party with these days. Like I'm a couple years at a university.
You're
and I
the
still
guy.
have a
You're
lot
the
of-
guy whose party it is. There you go.
Not so much. That's how I like it to be in high school. That was the case, and a little bit afterwards. Like if I got the spot that can accommodate, that's what I like to do. And I'm big.
Yeah.
Mom is huge. Like my parents were pretty chill. They would like gratefully like let me have a bunch of friends over, and they even like were around when I had parties. They just kind of like hung out in their side of the place and let me go wild. So mom's big on the hors d'oeuvres, and I've kind of adopted that. I like to provide for my guests and all that sort of thing, and
That's
have
so
good
awesome.
tunes on. But you know, it's kind of like that girl that hosts a party. It comes with a lot of you lose a couple months off your life when you host a party.
Oh yeah,
You
a good
really
party
do.
takes
Yeah,
some
it's
life from you. Yeah, I hear you.
exactly.
Yeah, wow,
yeah.
that's great. I would
Yeah.
say if I'm like you, Jackson, I do really enjoy hosting a party, but then sometimes I'm like, man, I just want to be a guest.
It's nice to be a guest though.
Yes, it's really nice. So actually, I think I prefer being a guest, but it is fun every now and then hosting. And I have back when I lived in New York City in my first apartment, I would have parties pretty often. And
that's so cool.
I often had, because it was like railroad style. So even though it was a smaller apartment, people were able to kind of like file in and just be in, but I did get some compliments on my playlists from different people. At different
That's the best feeling ever.
which is a really good
Yes.
feeling. Nowadays, forget it. I'd be like, oh, what's cool, guys? But back then, yeah, I would say maybe I bring the music, and I usually always bring some booze, even if it's just for me. I feel like you got to bring some drink to the party and not just mooch off of what other people brought.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Around here, it's all BYOB. There's never the whole thing
yeah.
about hosts providing. That's never been a thing. In
And then
East
you
Coast
look
Canada
at
anyway.
you look at people sideways when they don't bring something. You're like,
Oh, I
all right.
know.
Yeah.
Right? I
I'd say that like
remember.
doesn't even happen around here.
Oh
'Cause
my
you're just
gosh.
fucked.
Yeah, that is so rude to not even bring, I don't know, like a bag of like Tostito chips. Like, come
Or
on.
something.
Yeah.
Like,
Right?
even if-
Go
even
to
if-
the
even if you-
store.
Even if you
Love
brought a
Tostitos.
6-pack, which I know is like, even if you brought a 6-pack, which I know is minimally for you, at
Right.
least you're not dipping entirely into like,
Yeah,
oh, it's
yeah.
mine. I used to like to host them, and then arguably my place that I have is bigger enough to like host parties still, but I don't like
Nice.
cleaning up after people anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so I
I'm
hate
a
to
clean
be
freak.
that.
I like to do it. It's weird.
So,
Yeah.
that day after, when you go downstairs and look at your kitchen and you're just like, duh, like I don't
Oh,
like dealing with that
God.
anymore.
No way.
Sucks at the beginning though, for sure.
I bring music to parties,
Mm.
which was funny. I bring music to almost any environment I go to. Like
Yeah,
I
always got a speaker on, man. Always.
someone always has a speaker, or even if we go to a bar and there's touch tunes, I'm like on my phone and I'm like lining music up. And
Wow.
I'm also that person that like skips over people because I'm like, no, what you're playing is lame, and like it's,
You can't let the vibe die. You got to say.
No,
that,
we were
okay,
we were
what's-
talking about this last Friday. We were sitting there and they were playing like slow country, and we were like,
Ooh,
all right, it's
I
10
love
p.m.
country,
on a,
but not.
well, I mean, it was 10
not
p.m.
when
on a
you're-
Friday, and I was like, no,
fuck
we.
no.
And then you would just skip over people, and then you could just hear people in the background like, I thought my song was next. I'm like, no, it's not.
So what's touch tunes? Is this sort of like a virtual jukebox sort of idea?
Jukebox, yeah, and you
Yeah,
can like,
okay.
you just there's an app, and you can just like put your card info in, and just
How do you
Yeah.
skip
Wow.
people on this thing?
you have to pay more to skip.
Oh,
It's a number. So you buy a certain amount of credits. So it's like $12 for like 24 credits, and I think to skip someone it costs
That's a
7
good
credits.
value. Okay.
So like
Nice.
but sometimes we're just like you're killing the vibe, and then we just have to skip over people.
Yeah.
Wow, that is too funny. I didn't know you
I
Oh
could
love
skip.
that though.
Oh my God,
So-
cutthroat
No,
playlist.
cutthroat playlist. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I bring that. I
Yeah.
don't like hosting. I rather show up and bring stuff, and
It's
I
a
don't mind.
foundation
of a
I
good
don't mind
party.
helping setting. I don't mind helping setting
Yeah.
up and doing all that stuff either. I'm cool with that. I'll
Oh,
come
yeah.
early. But not hosting. I had like a taco party thing like a year ago, and it was fun. All my friends came. It was great. But when I woke up the next morning, I just went down and looked at everything, and I got dressed, and I was like, I'll just do this tomorrow. I went back out with my friends, and I was like, I don't want to deal with this right now. It was just a lot.
funny. Yeah.
And then of course you have to be lucky enough. I hope that some of your friends stay behind and help
Oh,
you clean up.
please. Oh my God,
Like-
please, someone,
like-
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to. But I do have to say, it's bringing me back talking about parties. I always was, I did love, one great thing about hosting is I did love providing like the special drink, like mixing, I don't know, something. And I always
Yeah.
made it way strong because also we were in New York and no one's driving and you just take a cab. But
Right.
yeah, even nowadays, like if we have people over, I do enjoy, the making of a drink for someone. I feel like that's a nice feeling,
Especially if you're confident in it and you get some compliments
Right.
on it, that is like, that is a
Yes. That's
great
like,
feature, great
it's
quality.
nice to provide that. And
It
yeah,
is.
totally.
And it's cool because we all have a few friends in the group that have various degrees of like bartending experience. So someone always wants to make a drink.
That's great.
So that's
Oh my
always
Nice.
good to have.
That's
there.
one thing I
True.
can't say. I can make a drink for myself, but I don't know any special recipes. I wouldn't know
Yeah,
how it would go.
but
over
that's
anything
when-
else.
That's when you can just get experimental and you're like, hey,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like just
fun.
gonna throw this in there and whatever. Most people will still drink
Because
it.
man, if you're going back to the age of like what these kids were supposed to be in this movie,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what I was mixing like back
Oof.
then. It was
Oh god, I was like
I
for
could
like,
drink
for like
anything
a
back then.
oh my god,
man.
for a year I was into like Mike's Hard Lemonade. Oh my
Lemonade,
god, what was I
it's-
thinking?
it's-
Do you guys
Smirnoff
have Palm
Ice,
Bays?
like-
Do you guys remember Palm Bays?
Yeah, I do.
You ever
Yeah.
had those?
Oh,
That was
yeah.
my first drunk was on those, and man, did it ever hurt the next day. So awesome.
Oh
First,
my God.
First shot I ever had was Jose Cuervo tequila.
Oh my
It was
god.
like, yeah, and that's
Wow.
what I did right into the sink. As soon as
Pure-
yeah.
Pure poison.
And I just remember that it was, and I remember the party. It was like the first big party junior year after the first big football game of the year.
That
Sounds
would
like a
be
movie.
fucking awesome. Yeah, it does.
But we all like me and this group of friends were like, we're gonna drink at this party, and then like I don't know why. It was funny because after that party we were like, I'm never drinking again, and
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
here you
yo,
are.
Say that twice a year. at least.
famous last words. But yeah, any closing thoughts on the film from any of you? Like, kind of how it holds up, I guess today. I mean, for you, like, does it still kind of feel as good as it did? At least for you, Mark.
For me,
away
it still
25
feels
years ago.
good. I think it still holds up. Of course, it's a little dated, but it's now dated in a loving way where it's a fun time capsule. Even like one of my favorite lines is going back to Jamie Presley after they're like raving about Jennifer Love Hewitt to her face. She leaves and then she goes, "Okay, I don't think she's prettier than Gwyneth." But
that
like
does
even
date it.
oh, it's so good. But Gwyneth and Brad, like that was so long ago that it's like, oh yeah, they were together and they were a thing and they had the same haircut. So like,
Yeah.
That's right.
it
Oh
does
my
date a little bit, but yeah, I think it still holds up really well. I feel like if it ever does become a stage musical, I think they should keep it totally in 1998. Like
Make it happen, Mark. You can make all the decisions.
right?
You
Let's
want.
do it.
I
Let's
know.
keep it with that music. Let's keep it with that fashion. And speaking of a new version, did you guys see Jennifer Love Hewitt apparently was on a podcast saying she wants to direct Can't Hardly Wait 2. Did you hear that?
Holy shit.
Yeah, I did hear that. So I was trying to find if there was anything about anyone, because I hadn't heard anyone talk about the sequel to this like a lot. And I looked up a recent thing they did for the 25th anniversary, and the director said they talk about it a lot frequently. And Ethan Embry said he's on the post to doing one, and that he discussed it over dinner with Peter Facinelli recently, and that they think it'd be really fun to either do like a fun
Make
little
a
like
reunion.
like a reunion movie.
Yeah.
Like it'd probably be streaming. It probably wouldn't be theatrical, but like
Yeah.
like to do like a reunion film. And Lauren Ambrose said she'd be down to do it too. She was like, I would love to like reunite with those people again. So like,
Yes.
I think we talk about the whole legacy sequel and all that, and like whether it's good or bad. I think in this instance it might, because people aren't really hammering at the like, oh, let's get a sequel to this made. Like if it came out organically, I think it would be.
Yes.
Oh,
And don't call
yeah.
it Can't Hardly Wait 2. Call it something that plays off the name of the first one. That
Right.
is like a spiritual sequel. I think that'd be a
Sequel.
much better approach. Like
Yeah, that's a good idea. Something with
The Wait
weight
is
in the
over or
title.
something stupid like that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
something. Yeah, Can't Hardly Wait. And
I mean, I guess they can't really be at a party. I mean, they're like older. I mean, what kind of party? I guess they could be at a party. So, but,
Yeah.
you know,
High school reunion, and
It could be at
someone's
someone's-
core cast. I'll go to a bar.
someone's
Oh my God,
wedding.
guys,
guess.
I have
a
it.
wedding.
I-
Would be a good one. What is it?
I think it's Melissa Joan Hart. It's Sabrina, obsessed with the yearbook. She has like a mega mansion, and she has everyone over since she's so obsessed with school. She just has
Yes.
the reunion at her a huge house.
Totally.
And like that's why like Lauren Ambrose comes back. She's like, I don't even know what Melissa Joan Hart's character's name is. Do you guys?
I think
Do you
she's
remember?
just I think she's just yearbook girl. Or
She was just yearbook
I have
girl.
no
Yearbook girl.
idea.
Yeah.
But I could just picture like Denise saying like, I always wanted to see the inside of Yearbook Girl's house. Like she always was rich. She married rich. But like maybe that's the thing. You know, now we're in a new house. Now we get to see the hostess of the party back then as a guest. And she could still be like, no, don't do that. Like that's such nice whatever. Like she's still like that even though it's not even her house.
Don't
Right?
pitch
Pitch this to Sony. I need you to pitch this to Sony.
There are like that's what's so cool about this kind of movie. There are so many famous faces, and a lot of them are still so recognizable. Like Jason Segel could now be a lead. Like maybe there's a little bit of a love triangle between like Preston, Amanda, and him or something.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of cool stuff that you could. Clea Duvall like still works a lot. So I mean, I don't know, guys. This could be really fun. Selma
I think that'd be a
Blair.
blast.
I think
Right?
so too. All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you guys one more thing because at the end of the movie it kind of tells you where everyone kind of ends up, which is kind of cheesy. I mean, it was kind of cheesy.
For a movie that's not based on a true story, I think that is just a hilarious quality. I'm like,
Yeah.
why?
But I know this is the end of high school and they're going to college. But do you think, your estimation, long term, that Preston and Amanda stay together, or did they part ways?
Great question. What do you think, Jackson? You
I
just saw it.
choose to believe that they got it. They're in it for the long haul. I mean, you know, divorce rate's quite high, but I think these guys ride it out. The genuine like attraction between them and like the love obviously that Preston has. I don't feel like he would lose it, and I feel like Amanda's character at the time was so ready for someone to just treat her right and have a genuine caring guy that I mean, this is completely hypothetical, but I could see them going the distance.
I
don't think that's a hot take.
just got an idea for the sequel, so I'm gonna
keep rolling. Keep rolling.
So they dated for a while, but college was, you know, too busy. You have temptation, other people, so they don't last more than a couple years. And now for the sequel, for this reunion party, the roles are switched. It's Amanda who's going. She wants to get Preston back.
That is fantastic.
The one that is right. Like that would be really fun. And how fun for Jennifer Love Hewitt to be like, oh yeah, like now I'll have more to do. She's the one talking to people like, you know, is he single? I heard he like divorced his wife. Is he with anyone?
No one's heard of him for 10 years.
Right. And like maybe he's with someone from the movie. Maybe he's with Jamie Presley or something, but it's obviously just like a rebound or something. Or maybe, oh my God. Yeah.
She's like, I got this letter that's gonna find a fun way to get back to him somehow, like in the movie, like throughout the party.
Yeah, you know, because even Jamie Presley with Mom and everything, and My Name Is Earl, like she became a bigger star, so maybe she is a little bit more of like Jennifer Love Hewitt's right hand man this time. Yeah, and she's, you know, like. So I'm gonna say, they didn't make it, but now the movie is about getting them back together and trying it again, right?
I'm on your side too. I think they stayed together a little bit, and then college got hard, and then they broke up. And the reason I bring that up is because I think she still needs to find herself, because she has that line where she's talking about like, if I'm not if I'm not Mike Dexter's girlfriend, then who am I? Like if that is how you feel about yourself, I think you're gonna carry that with you a little bit. So I think she would end things to kind of figure herself out, right? And it might have taken her a bit, and then I like where you kind of take it, where like, all right, she's finally figured herself out, and she wants to get him back. I
could totally see these two totally being perfect for each other, just maybe not at that time. So it could come back.
I like that story.
No, that's so sweet. Okay, written by us, copyright. If anyone steals this idea, we are suing you.
With a stroke of luck, maybe Jennifer Love Hewitt will be listening. And
I hope you're listening. We have to tag her and everything, right?
I'm tagging her. Well, you know what? You know who I am going to tag, and this won't be as big, but Joel McHaley, who plays one of the X-File nerds with the curly hair. He responds to anything Kate Harley way. I tagged him in the trailer that we posted, and he was like, "Oh my god! Like it's been 25 years." He responded to it, so I'm tagging him. I'm tagging him in everything that's related to, because I'm throwing out so much stuff for this episode. And I'm like, "Yo, man,
oh my gosh, guys!" And one last idea that just came to my mind for the sequel. Now Seth Green is like goes by Kenneth. And he's like a Steve Jobs, like super like and very polished, wearing suits, like totally opposite of what he was.
He's embraced his whiteness.
Yeah, finally, maybe he becomes so white that people are like, okay, like relax, you know, like that could be a fun switch for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess Denise would probably be the same, right? I can't see her changing much.
I feel like Denise has to be the same.
She's true to her. I think she was true to herself.
Mike Dexter would be the interesting one. Like, I mean, is he a man child like forever? Or
well, the credits say that made him seem like he was.
Yeah.
40 pounds overweight and lost his job
at the car wash.
The photos, yeah.
Oh my God, maybe. Wow, Mike is now William. Mike is now like, oh, hi, Mike. Anyway, you know, like no one cares about him. And maybe he's in like I know fat suits are like, I don't even know if we call them that. I know that's problematic. So maybe we don't do that. But
that's prosthetics. Maybe, I look at it the same way.
Maybe prosthetics, or maybe he's just a really good looking guy who's like such a like douchey loser that people are like, oh yeah, hi.
He's fighting for relevancy again.
See again. Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, he's essentially the Stifler of the group.
Yeah,
like in this particular,
and maybe
he's the Stifler in this movie.
Maybe William and Yearbook Girl married, and it's their mega mansion because we can go based on Charlie Korsmo's, you know, MIT knowledge. He's super smart, super rich. Yeah, right. Okay, there we go. This is gold. This is gold.
This has legs,
right? It's an easy streaming movie. It's gonna be a hit. There we go.
All right, this is why we love having Mark on these episodes, because
great to have.
Not only can this be a Can't Hardly Wait retrospective, but we also get to pitch a Can't Hardly Wait sequel. To those listening, I would really love for you to comment and let us know what you think of this sequel idea, because I actually think it's really good. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass.
Two people who work in the industry here talking about this. A writer amongst us.
I really think it sounds good.
Not to toot my own horn, but I did win one screenwriting award in the past for a film.
Okay.
So I mean,
didn't know you wrote as well, Mark.
Oh yeah. My films I write and direct. So I mean, I am available if anyone needs my services.
Well, there we go. I love it, man. Every time you're on, this is why you're on these episodes, because you bring so much to them.
Oh, thank you.
It is so much fun. It's not just
this is like my time frame. So hey,
dude, I mean, I swear, when I look at the list, anything in this time period, I was like, gotta get Mark on, unless you're gonna do it on your show. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll figure out something else.
Yeah, we'll figure it out for sure.
Just a heads up. Yeah, Dazed and Confused, September 10th turns 30. I don't know if that's too early 90s for you, but I know that I do
enjoy it. It might. I don't know if I'm I'm not an expert, so
we can revisit.
Yeah, let me think about it. I'll let you know. But if you guys do talk about, what was I thinking? If you guys talk about The Faculty, definitely let me know, because I'm probably not going to be able to fit that. Yeah, you got to check that out. So that's on the list. I'm sure there's something else.
I think there's like Halloween H2O is.
I'll gladly talk about Halloween H2O. Like,
that'll be a good one.
There's a lot of summer stuff. Freddy versus Jason.
Freddy versus Jason.
I'm not going to be able to fit those on my show. So,
sweet.
Then
if you have room,
then you hop on ours and you do it. We will make it happen.
And I got to have you guys back on my show. I know I had Gaius, but Jackson, I got to have you on my show.
I would be honored.
Definitely. Thank you guys. And for the Jennifer Love Hewiit fans, I'll just do one last plug. I think I plugged it last time I was on your show. Sorry. But I did make an I Know What You Did Last Summer fan film, and we talk about Julie James, played by Jennifer Love Hewiit. She's not in the movie. No, I don't have that kind of budget. But check it out. It's on YouTube. It's on Vimeo. Your Last Summer. It's queer horror, and it's a sequel to I Know, that I wrote and directed. So there you go.
Yep. So we will link that YouTube link on the description of the episode. We'll also link to your podcast as well, because it's a great listen. And thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure. Always a good time.
Fantastic talking with you again.
Yeah, I get lost in the conversation, man. Like it seems like I'll have like stuff like, all right, I think I'm going to talk this and do that, and then we'll just jump, and it's organic, and I love it, because we end up touching on what we need to touch on anyway, even if it's not in
too much. I'm sorry. I know I was cutting you guys off, my bad. But
I appreciate
that's
the excitement.
That's what you're here for, man.
That's why you're here to because Jackson and I could have talked about it, but it was good to have someone else that loves the movie just as much as I did. Yeah.
And we can only, have someone who is fresh off it. I have no, experience with this movie. It's great to have somebody else that can speak with it, to know the insights and stuff that I do not, and can, talk with Gaius about that sort of thing. So that is awesome.
Love it.
All right. So sign us on off, Jackson.
Yeah. Just really quick, guys, before we let you go, I just wanted to give some attention to somebody by the name of Chris Stuckman. I know I've chatted with Gaius about him before, but Mark, I'm not too sure if you're familiar with him, but for those who don't know, and I'm sure many of our listeners maybe do know who he is, but long story short, he's been a YouTuber. He's been doing this sort of thing on YouTube for years now, probably a decade plus. And this year he has shot his first feature film. So he is now a writer and director officially, and they're going through the editing process. I just watched one of his videos today. And they're going through now they're adding some VFX shots, and I guess the budget's kind of running out. He's raised and fundraised a lot of this money from himself from the ground up. He's very appreciative of this stuff. And he's been a guy that I've been very inspired by over years now. I can't even really recall when I first discovered Chris. I know my buddy Cam put me onto him, and I've been watching his videos for longer than I can remember. Point being, so they're looking to fundraise a little bit extra money just to get them over the finish line for their movie Shelby Oaks. So if any of our listeners are looking to, to fundraise for him, to donate and to be a part of this movie, getting it off the ground, if you go to shelbyoaksmovie.com, that's SHELBYOAKS movie.com. You can buy things like there's different perks over there. You can purchase the Blu-ray in advance. There's tickets to the screenings when it comes out. I think they're aiming for a fall release. I think they're lining up to play at some festivals, and there's merch and a bunch of different things you can find at that website. So I know I'm going to be doing that as soon as I can. So yeah, just wanted to shout out a guy who I find very inspiring, who's making his first feature film. It's a horror film. So no doubt we'll be looking for that when it comes out. It's got us all over it. So yeah, Chris Stuckman, shelbyoaksmovie.com. Go show him some love. Just wanted to plug him there. I saw that video today. So glad to get that out there because love that guy. Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we will link that. And we'll link that in the description of the episode as well. So you guys can.
Fantastic. Would mean a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sure.
Okay. Now with that being said, this has now been what are we, episode 102 now? We're rolling right off. 100. Yeah. This is great. Mark, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time from Release Date Rewind to chat with Gaius and I about Can't Hardly Wait. This has been a great special anniversary episode. Very happy to share it with you. As always, guys, it's been a pleasure. For the listeners, you guys know where to find us anywhere where you guys get your podcasts or social media. You can find us at Back to the Blockbuster. Don't be afraid to go check out Mark's work over the Release Date Rewind. And yeah, he'll be tagged too in the description. And thanks a lot, guys. This has been Back to the Blockbuster. Episode 102. Thanks a lot, guys.
Peace.
Peace out, guys.